Hi all, hope you all are doing good. So in this playlist, as you have seen, we have learned many concepts so far. But what about error handling, exception handling, incidents? What about all those things? So today we are going to cover 8 such techniques quickly. We are going to I have already made flowcharts, and we are going to see 8 such types and in details, and that also as quickly as possible. So after that, I have already shared the GitHub link in my about section. I will again put that GitHub link in the description. So whatever flowcharts you are going to see today, that will be part that will be shared on the GitHub. So that link you can find in the description. So let's get started. Okay. So first thing is this arrow thing. What do we call this thing? Okay. So this is basically called as error event. So if you are from any programming language, like you have not used BPMN before or Commanda before or any other BPMN platform, you must have come across this term called try catch, right? So okay, let's see what is this flow. Then we'll talk about what kind of event is this. What do we call this? Okay, so in that sequence, let's learn it. So simply we have a start event and we have a exclusive gateway, no such conditions, nothing. Okay, and then like write your business logic. Here we just want to understand how the try catch works, so that's why I don't have any business logic there. So if I click on this, you can see I have given some link name. Okay, so it's basically uh, when can I use it. This is actually error handling, or this is actually exception handling. No, so this particular thing I can call it as I can use it in two scenarios. First scenario, when I have a huge big flow, okay, and I cannot write like everything in one place, so I will write, say, this is link 1, link 1 will start something somewhere else. At the end of that there will be link 3, link 3 will start from somewhere else. So that's how I can draw or create my BPM in bits and pieces, and I can connect in that manner. Okay, so it will also be used in say I have a small flow, and then I have two big process, and I want everything in one workflow. I don't want to have different workflows. Let's say this thing, let's say this thing is one workflow, this thing is another workflow, but it's very huge, very huge. So I will simply say, if the condition is A, then it should go to this. If condition is B, then it should go to this. But this seems very simple. What's the catch in this? So first let's see what is there in the workflow, then we'll try to understand what is the catch in this. And that catch, just like the default word that had too much catch in the previous video, as we have seen, similarly today we are going to see some similar catches. So let's get started. So if we see, I have given link to. Okay, now this process is done. This process is done. It reached and it says I am done. Now next I'm it's over to you, the link to. So where is it linked to? If I click on this, it's link 1. If I click on this, it's link 2. So I hope this is like a normal flow, a happy path, I can say. So let's deploy this, and then we can, okay, let me just deploy it here itself. So deploy, and we are good. Let's refresh. So we have one process definition, and it's handling error through catch intermediate 1. So if I open task list, okay, so let me, okay, yeah, so let me just start this process and handle. And before that, if we see, we are starting, it is going to end at link 1, link 2, and link 2 is here. So the control will go, should go to final check 2 as per our understanding. So let's start this, and if I refresh, I can say I'm at final check 2. Okay, now this is like the usual thing. So first thing we can, oh okay, my screen is coming in between. Let me just minimize it a bit, or I can just bring it here. I hope now you can see. So this can be used in two things. One way, when it is a big thing, or other way I can say when there is an exceptional force. So this is not an actual exception handling, this is the starting glimpse. So we are going to do deep down, and we are going to understand various handling techniques. Now here, what is the thing is, like it's a big process, right? It's a big process. So what happens if say suppose there is a link which I forgot, or there is a link which is not mentioned. Let's say I'm saying this is link 2, but link 2 is not present anywhere. Then what will happen? So it's like we have interrupted exception, we have checked exception, unchecked exception, then we have an exception. So if nothing is matched, then there will be some parent which will take care of everything. Similarly, here I'm saying that link 1, so here I'm saying link 2. Now this is not used by anyone else, this will be used only by link 1. Let's take another example. I'm saying that this is empty, this is empty. Okay, now here I'm throwing what, link 3. So try to understand, I'm trying to throw link 3, but link 3, is it present? No. So first it is empty and the second it is link 2. So let's try to deploy it once again, and there we go. Deployment failed. What happened? Let me bring this up. Okay, so link 3, but no event target with that name exists. So it's like, now I got the error because I was trying to deploy it. But if you have seen, we have a plugin previously to show us while drawing itself that okay, this is red, this is green, and such thing. Okay, so this perfectly makes sense. We are trying to throw link 3, but link 3 is not there. So what we can do here, one more thing is, like suppose here I forgot everything. Okay, now here nothing is there, here also nothing is there. So what will happen? This, let's deploy, and there we are going to try to understand one more concept. So let's clear this. Now this error we are not going to get because we are not able to deploy itself. So definitely we are going to get the compile time, we can say, or before deployment itself. So now let's try to deploy once again. Deployment succeeded, and let's try to open this. Now let's try to open, and let's complete this thing. We don't need this anymore, and let's get we should be seeing definition version 2. Yes, I can see this. Now what is the expected behavior is, it is throwing something, but there is nothing. So there should be someone who could be able to catch it, and this arrow is also empty. So why are we doing this again? It is like the same thing, how it went previously, that it is an empty, so the cache should also be empty, and this is the empty. So let's see what happens. Start. Now if I refresh, I can see, if I go to diagram, the first thing got and the control got to the final check and not the final check too. So what has happened here is, the conclusion behind this is, just like link 2 is an event, similarly empty is also an event. There's nothing else. Okay, so it's like we can say, even though if I don't want this, I should keep it. Okay, so if this is the case, right, suppose tomorrow if I miss something, definitely there should be something called parent, something called default, so everything will come to this. Okay, so that's one thing. Now I hope this flow is clear. So this is the part 1. Let me close this, we don't need this anymore. Now let's get started with the second thing. So what do we call this? So let me just drag this here, and let me search for this. So I cannot find it here. If I search for shock, that shock symbol, I cannot find it here. So if I drag this to something, some boundary of something, then if I try to see the options are changing. It is as per the boundary, because now the component is on top of something. So let's see, here it is called as error boundary event. So let me delete this. So what have we created this? Okay, let's see the component, and then we can talk about this. So first it's a simple start event, and then we have a normal user task, and in this user task, what we are not, this is a script task, my bad, this is a script task. Let me just correct it. Control C, Control V. Forget the content for a minute. Okay, then we have a normal user task too. Now this is something which is waiting for an error called throw type 1. So first of all, we should not focus on error ID or error name. Okay, whoever is going to call this or throw anything, the naming will be mapped based on code, the error code. So this error code is something which is playing just like a primary key or something. I can say primary key. Okay, so this is throw type 1. So it's basically what I'm doing is catch throw type 1, nothing else. Now where am I throwing it? So if I go into script task, I've simply added throw this thing, throw type 1. So here I have directly added throw just to show the demo, but in regular we will not do this thing, right? We suppose we got in variable, and we want to check if this is having a value or not. If it is having a value, then go for further decision. If it is not having a value, I cannot take a decision, so I should simply throw it. Now as soon as I'm throwing it, I'm throwing what? I'm throwing throw type 1. So here I can have one more thing. Let's say here I am having throw type 2. I will have one more throw type 3. So based on that I can write, but this is not a real time situation. The real time thing we are going to understand in a minute, but this is like for a small case this is fine, but for a big complex thing this is not a feasible thing. Okay, because in each script task we might have big business logic. For that we might have n number of exceptions. So how will we handle such thing? So hold on for that and we'll see in a minute. So here what we are doing is we are basically throwing this because the type of object that this event is causing this, um, one second, yeah, I should put it on this, and then there we go. Yeah, this is error boundary event. Yeah, so error boundary event, what kind of object it is expecting as a parameter is this throw type 1. So throw type 1 is of type bpmn error. So that's why when I am throwing the object of bpmn error. So if this is throw type 1, it will search for the event, intermediate error event, which is having that kind of catch. Okay, so there we are going this, and then it is going like next. I think the flow is clear. So basically we are trying to throw bpmn error, and we are creating an intermediate boundary event which is waiting for the object of type bpmn error. Now this is like in the modeler itself I am writing, but if I want to write the same in the Java, I can simply have the delegate, and there I can throw, there also I can catch. So everything can be done in Java. It's just that just to show that how it working, I don't want to move here and there from Java to this. So in the demo itself I am keeping everything. Now if I save this and let's try to deploy, and deployment succeeded. Now yeah, let's complete this is not required for us. So if I refresh now, or let's me go to process, I can see handling boundary error 2. So here what is the expected behavior is the control will go to script task will throw a bpmn error called error type 1, and that will be caught here, and because it is catching we will go to final check type 2. Okay, so let me just refresh this once again so that the latest deployment can reflect start process boundary 2 and start, and let me refresh. There we go. So we are on the final check 2. So in the diagram we can see we have simply thrown an exception object of bpmn error, and we are catching it. It's not that bpmn error also, because bpmn error is extended from some other. So even the parent can, so basically the parent can, no, it's opposite, it's the inheritance. So if bpmn error I'm able to what I can say, if bpmn error I am able to catch, then if any class is extending or implementing that, even that object, so it's again basically the inheritance concept. Again I think my cam is coming in between. I hope now you are able to see. Okay, so this intermediate event is for sure needs only bpmn error. So for now we are good here. Let's complete this, and yes, we are good. So anything else from this? I don't think as of now. Yeah, so we have covered two techniques. Now coming to the third, this is again very important. Okay, now if we see, we are using the same intermediate boundary event, but here we are going to understand, oh, like this is something which we can use in big flows. So what is going on here? So the event the start is the flow is starting, which this is clear, and then it is going to, definitely it is going to the next this task, no doubt in that. Now here I don't want to use this is just to show, okay, the flow is there. So what I did, this is a default flow. If I open the properties, let me just yeah, I hope now it should be fine. So this is a default flow. If you can see that arrow, slash arrow, backward slash, and then I have a condition here. So in the condition I have written 1 equal to 1. Oh, okay, once again, if I have not shown you this, I just forgot, maybe just to show you that how you can throw. So this is throw new org commanda bpm and engine delegate bpm and error. So this is the package name comma class. Okay, so let me just close this just I think I did not show it, so I'm showing it back. Yeah, coming back to our flow, this something I kept as a default. Okay, so what is the default versus what is empty, that we have discussed in the previous video, so just go and watch that. So for now, default is this. Default we everyone know, but what is the difference between default and empty, that we have discussed previously. Now there is one more arrow where I am saying that 1 equal to 1 means this is going to be true always. So my intention is that basically the control should go to this. Now what is this? So here basically I am saying type for error. So you can say basically I'm throwing it. So if I just put it here and let's say this is the error, so error end event. Okay, now the good thing here is if the control comes here and there is no cache thing, it will simply terminate. It is not like the deployment failed. No, it's not. So what we are, that is one point. Now the second point is when I'm saying type for error, now what is going to happen? Let's see, we have catch events as well. So okay, what do we call this? I'll simply bring it here on the boundary. No, I cannot. Okay, hold on. Okay, let me just bring this here and let me just put it. Okay, yeah, let me say this is a user task and this is an event on that. Oh, why is it not working? Hold on. Yeah, this should be the one. Correct. So now if I can see the shock one, the shock error boundary event, it's the same thing that we have seen previously. So let me close this, and now getting back to the point. Now at this point we are sure that the control will go to here because this condition is 1 equal to 1, that is always true. Now this is throwing type for error. Now if I see, okay, this is catching nothing. What about this? This is catching type 3 error. So what are we learning here? So here we are going to understand 4 points. First point, like we'll try to understand this 4 point, then we'll try to deploy. So first point is, if I'm throwing type for error, is type for here, first it will search locally, even though it is an import or anything, everything will be searched locally. So in the local, is there any type 4? I see only type 3, no type 4 catch is there. So I'll go outside. Now is this a type 4? No, but it is a parent. It can catch everything because it's like empty event is also an event. Similarly, empty catch is also a catch. Okay, so here type 4 error is not there, but it's a parent thing, so the control will come here. Okay, now similarly, if it is a type, if I write type 3 error here, then the control will go to type 3. So I hope that is fine because that was a happy path. So if the catch is there, then go to that, but otherwise it will search for the parent one. Now those were the 2 points. Now next thing about these 2 points were about the empty event and the actual event. Now the next 2 points is about variables. So if you can see, this is the outside. Okay, this is you can say a group or a partition. Okay, now when the control comes outside, the variables that are created, let's say here 2 variables are created. Okay, now but control is coming outside. Now when control comes here, these 2 variables are created inside that small box or group. That's why the scope of that will be within that group only. Okay, but in the other way around, if I see that 2 variables are created here, now the control is going to here, then it will be in scope. So 2 points about variables is, if the control is coming out of this box, this big box, then the variables that are created internally are out of scope of this 302. But if the control is going to final check 301, then it will be like the variable is in scope, because something which is created in parent, I can access it as a child, but something which is created with the child, the parent cannot access it. It's again the inheritance concept. I think it's like used everywhere. Okay, so what we are going to do now is, first we'll try to go with a type 4 error, and as expected the control should come to final check 302. Let's deploy this, and I'll go to the process. So event 3, and let's go to task list and start process. So this is event 3 and start. So if I refresh now, I should see 302. So if I go to diagram, I can see it's coming to the parent. Okay, because there is nothing which is catching what is thrown by this, which is the type 4 error. Now let's say we want to throw type 3 error. Again, you have to understand that everything is with respect to error code. name is just a label, error code is what is mapping everything internally. So let's save this and deploy again. And yes, deployment succeeded. Let's complete this, we don't need this anymore. And let's come back to this. If I refresh, I should be able to see the second version. Second version is here. Excellent. Now start process again. So if I start, refresh, and there we go. Now it's a 301. So if I scroll down, now we can see. Okay, so you can play with this. Okay, let me just bring it this side. Okay, hold on. Yeah, now I think you are able to see, and there we go. Okay, so now it's inside 301. You can just verify with the variables, or you can put your some logics and take some decision, then verify what is in scope, what is outside scope. So I think the concept is clear with these two things also. So the outside one was our third technique, the inside subgroup is our fourth technique. So we have covered four techniques of this handling stuff. Let's now just complete it, we don't need this anymore. And yeah, so let me just close this as well. Okay, let me just show you what are the properties that we have added. So here it's the default flow. So what is default flow? It's like simply the default will be like this, and if I click on this, I get an option called default flow. Okay, now here I have selected, okay, let me select arrow, and I have selected that it is an expression, and I'm saying expression as true, $1 equal to 1. Okay, now this is simply like how do we get this. So what we can say is, if I, let's say, okay, let me just delete. Okay, let me show you everything, then I can show you how to create this. So here I can see, okay, yeah, here I can show you. So in the drop down I can say that these are something which is already created. But now let's say I want to catch type 4. So let's say this is, okay, this is some random thing, random, but this is not created anywhere. Makes sense, right? It is not created anywhere. So how can I say that it will be catched by someone? And like say I want to say that I want to catch random. Now if I go to drop down, I can, okay, now it is there. So if it is not there, and if it is not called anywhere, I can simply click on plus, and then I can give name. Okay, it is as simple as that. So let me just do Control Z, because I want to share this with you. So this is an empty, and yeah, I want to put this also as an empty, so that you can play. Okay, this is how the file I'm going to share you. Okay, so this was the internal was, let's say, our third technique, the outside was our fourth technique. So we are good with the four techniques. Let's close this. I hope now the flow is like clear, what is inside written, and what is how the control is going. Now here is something called escalation. Okay, so let me just show you the complete flow first. Okay, let me just close this. I hope that now the flow is visible. So what is so special about escalation? So this is called escalation event. So let me just bring it here, and here the options I won't get it. So this is the intermediate throw event that we are using it here, and then we have the other one, this one. So let's bring it on the boundary, and now see the option. So we'll have, there we go, escalation boundary event. Okay, so here the point is, or the beautiful thing about is, let's go with the flow. First the control is coming here. Now for sure the next start event is going to be this. Now here we see that there is some internal check, and then we are escalating it. This is not how we use escalation. So escalation is like, let's say there was some deadline, and it's like there's amount of work that is left is of 2 days, but deadline is remaining is 1 day. Now in that case, I want everyone to be alerted, so I escalate it so that everyone knows, and even the higher management can take action according to it. So let's suppose a use case that email has to be sent, that invoice has to go every time, but because of delay it got escalated. So the action that I can take is, I want to put the apology content. Now in the when the control got escalated, the apology content got inserted. Now the control comes back to the flow. Now the invoice goes as it is. So let me repeat this. Let's say every month we send an invoice, but this time the date, we like breached the deadline, so the request got escalated. Now the escalated the control that we have written in the escalated part is the apology content. Now the apology content is done means the escalation, whatever the business logic was there as part of escalation, it came back to the original, and then the invoice was sent as usual. Okay, so that is just an use case, but here it is to show what happens here. Now the first thing here is the control comes here, then internal check happen, then this gets escalated. So as okay, let me open properties. You can say I want to escalate this to D point. So D point should be there. Okay, now this time we cannot say it should, even if it is empty it will work. No, the D point should be there. So if I can come here, I can see escalation to D point is present. Now this final check 501 will like be executed, and once this is done, once this is completed, it's not like the process going to end. No, once whatever the control or whatever the logic is written under the final check 501, once this is completed, again the control will go back. Okay, now let's understand. So this part that I have explained, I hope this is clearly understandable, but there is again a small catch. But before explaining that catch, let me just execute this once again, and then we'll try to understand. So this is a very good catch is present here. So let's try to deploy this once, and then we'll try to understand. So if I go back to process, I can see this is my escalating event, and as expected this is going to be escalated, and the 501, the control will come to 501. Now once this escalation business logic is done, then the control will go back to original, and 601 should get executed, right? So that is what our understanding is, but let's see how it is going to be executed. So refresh and start process. This is what we are going to say, start. Now if I refresh this, I see internet check 1 diagram. So here internal check 1, only one thing is part. Now as per our understanding, what should happen is the control should go to 501 next, and then it should come back and it's go to 601. That is what our understanding or the happy path is, but it is not how it is going to behave. So let's execute, then we will discuss. Form complete. I see two things got created. So what happened here? So if I go to history diagram, I can see 501 is the control came to 501 as expected. But what about 601? 601 is also there. Why? This is not what we expected. And one more thing you need to understand is, first the control went to 501. That's why we can see it on the top. And then the control also went to 601. Okay, so this is our understanding now. Why it happened, that we will understand in a minute. So first of all, before going to the catch, I just want to say that as soon as the event got escalated, the control went to 501 as expected, but the flow did not wait for us and it went ahead. So that's called 601. So then we can see 601 is also got created. So let's complete this, and then we'll try to discuss what happened and how what all tweaks we can do. So let's complete this, and we can complete this as well. Okay, now yeah, so now before understanding what had happened or why it happened, because as per our understanding escalation, whatever the business logic got executed here, it should come back to this path, right? But the point or the catch here is there is nothing to execute here. You can say there is nothing to execute. This is already ended. So I can say this is there, no? This is there. Then it should wait, right? Then I should say you should understand the concept of persistence. This end event is not a persistence event. Okay, so I have explained in detail about what is a persistence, what is the normal state, and how it affects the async and all. Okay, so in that video, if you see, it should be like previous video. In that I have clearly explained the use or the meaning of persistent, async before, async after, what is async, why we use async. So if you are sure about that, then you will be able to understand. Then you can say that end event is not a persistent event. So if there is no persistent event, it cannot wait. So it got ended. Now once it is ended, it is waiting at 601. Okay, so now what we can do is, let's add a persistent task. So if I copy this and paste it, let's say this is a user task. Now user task is what? It is a persistent state. So let me get back to this, and let's say this is an internal check 2. copy paste. This is an internal check too, and we will assign it to demo. So we are good here. Now what will happen? Now let's try to understand what could have happened, and then what will be happening, and then we'll deploy it. So now this is going to come here, and then the internal check one is going to execute it. Now it is going to escalate. Okay, but there is some business logic to be completed before going outside of the group. That's why it is going to wait. It's not like the internal check 2 is going to exit. No, 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 no. It's going to wait at this. Okay, it's going to wait. Now once the 501 is completed, then it is going to come back, and then it is going to continue. Okay, so basically consider the internal check 2 is the task of sending mail, but here the control got escalated, and the mail content is getting appended with the apology task. So here the apology task got appended, and then it is coming back, and then the remaining logic of the flow is happening. Then we are going outside. So I hope the point is clear. Now let's try to deploy it. Deploy, yes, successful. Okay, there we go, and let's refresh this. Now we should be getting the version 2. Yes, there we go. Now let's refresh and start process. So this is the thing, and start. So if I refresh, as expected, I'll have one task, which is internal check 1. Now after this, the escalation should take me to 501. Let's try to complete this, and there you go. So now if I can see history diagram, now 501 is there. Okay, but internal check to 8 did not complete. It is waiting for me. So what will happen? First I will complete my escalated business logic, that is the 501. You can see the order, correct? So it's like it is waiting for me. It is waiting for the escalated business logic to complete. Now here the good thing here is, let's say the escalated person itself is not available. So in that case, it's not like I cannot move ahead because the escalated person is not here. So the escalation is just to help the process, but escalation should never act as an obstacle. So even if suppose 501 is not present and the task is not complete, let's see what will happen. So if I go to internal check 2, and if I go to complete, so before that, just see the diagram that first the control came to 501, and then the internal check 2. Okay, now because this is a persistent state, it did not came outside. So let's complete this first. So here we can see that we got escalated, but that escalated person is not there. So it's not blocking us, though it is not helping us here, but it is also not blocking us. If 501 was there, it could have benefited us, but since 501 person is not there, we are just assuming that person is not there, so we are simply going to continue with our flow. So let's form complete. Now if I refresh, yeah, 601, it came here. So I can say it went outside. So I can say still the 501 is there. So let's go to cockpit. So see the token. So I can see one token is, okay, this is the same process. One token is present here and one token is present here. Now let's try to understand, if I try to complete the flow without the escalation, it should work or not. The sentence that we have to remember is, escalation is just to help the process or give a push to process, but not to obstacle. So if it is happening, that is good. That is adding some more value, like adding apology. But if it is not there, the normal invoice should not be blocked. I hope this use case is helping in understanding the flow. So let's complete this form and complete. Now there we go. So it's done, the process is done. Now when the person will come, oh okay, he can see, okay, there was something else. Now let's try to understand what will happen if the escalated person came after the process is over, but the instance is not removed, because still there is an active task is present for the active instance. So these three terms, one is the process which is we deployed, the instance which is an object of the process, now the task which is a component of process. So three terms. I hope we are not confusing here. So let's try to complete this. This was the escalator, this is our top priority, but this was not executed, but still our flow went as usual. Now let's comment, and this should not be there now. Okay, so now there was nothing, right? The email was already sent. So now what could have happened? So this is again a flaw. The email was already sent, now we are trying to append the content. So we should have a proper business logic here, that Okay, if the email is sent, then no need to, then you cannot do anything. But if the email is not sent, then only you should append the logic. So that again business logic should take care whether the internal flow is completed or not. Okay, again we can use this runtime variables called executions dot all those things to identify whether it is the process, I mean the internal group or the task uh, which was waiting for this escalated task was still present or not. So I think the use case that we have took is really helping us to understand how the flow is working. So here the point is that without this we had seen one scenario, with this we have seen one, with the persistent state, without the persistent state we have seen the scenario. So that was our fifth and sixth technique. Now what is seventh and eighth? So seventh technique is async. Now that is not exactly the error catching thing, but that will help us in identifying till what point is the flow executed, till what point it is stuck, or how many retries got done. Is it like 10 retries is what we have mentioned, 5 is done, so we cannot call it as a struck. It is still it will still retry after some time. So basically we'll try to understand the flow of the state at which it is even if it is an automated task, not the user task, we will still be able to see at what point of uh, workflow is the control is still existing. So that was just a one liner. We have like spent completely 30 to 40 minutes on understanding what is async in the previous video, so just watch that async. I think I have the link. Oh, hold on. Yes, I have it here. Control T, Control V. Right. So we
because
have discussed
asynchronous
about 17 minutes on that async before and after. So you can spend some time on that. And the last thing is about let me check. Yeah, it's about the signal catch event. Okay. So throw and catch signal event. Now how it is uh, different with respect to the error event that we have talked, the first flow, the first technique, how it is different. So for that again we have spent nearly half an hour on the signal already. So again you can see, okay, not half an hour, the 18 minutes. So again you can see what we have discussed here. So it's one more method of handling. So that was one more technique, and the final thing is incident handling. So now what is incident and all, again we have already discussed what is incident, but how it is handled. So if the incident thing, I cannot show you the demo, I can only explain you because this is not what I can say the licensed version, this is the free version. So I can only explain you so the theoretical part only. So if you want practical you can skip, otherwise just stay here. So what will happen when the incident comes is we can see some red mark here. Okay, and okay, let me just start this thing one. Handling process 5. So start process, handling process 5, start. And if I refresh, I can see blue color token, right? Now if suppose this was something which is like something wrong happened, the retry got exhausted, the network is down, the database is gone, something wrong. Okay, so the incident got caused. Now it cannot be handled because there is no catch present, there is no parent catch process, there is no logic to handle it. So this flow is done, it cannot even terminate, it cannot even execute, it is stuck. Okay, so that is where we call it as an incident. Now what we will do, so we will create one more flow. Okay, let's say this is, what is the version of this is the definition version 2. So we'll create one more version called definition version 3. And what we will do is, let's suppose this is the instance that is got incident, so we will just upgrade this to version 3. So whatever the control was here, it will be upgraded to version 3, and then in the version 3 we have written the catch for the incident, that is like because of which the version 2 is stuck. So that's how we'll try to solve the incident. So that is one method which I know. If you know any other method of solving the incidents, please do mention in the comment section. So that was all. So this was like fifth and sixth, then seventh was our async, then eighth technique was our signal, and the ninth technique is our this thing, ticket. So overall the 9 techniques we have seen today of how to handle everything. So if you have any such techniques, please do mention in the comment section, and if you have any good use case, please do share uh, any reference or any kind of links in the comment section. Finally, if you like my explanation, please do subscribe, click on notification bell, and share with people who are new to this domain. And yep, like as per my stats, I see 95% of viewers are not subscribers. So please do subscribe, and let's grow with the community. Thank you.